couple of super simple problems just to get you started. Go ahead and pause this, try each one of these out for yourself. Alright, so we don't see something here. We don't have an x term here because we're differentiating, which means take the derivative, each function with respect to x. So there needs to be an x present with a coefficient to perform a derivative. This is a math worksheet, so we get the math language, but it's nice to use the correct language. Alright, so we don't see one there. Here's what we can do. We can put in an x, and if there's an x to the 0th power, what does that equal? That's the same thing as just having a 1 there. Right? X to the 0 is going to be just a 1. 5 times 1 is going to give you 5. So there's a secret 0 there. And watch what happens. If we do our derivative rules, we multiply our coefficient by our exponent. 0 times 5 is 0. And then we're left with 0x to the negative 1. 0 times x to the negative 1, well, we know that's just going to be 0. So we can go through all of that, but quick, simple way is there's just a constant here. There's no x available, so it's going to just be 0. So then dy dx, the derivative of y with respect to x, is just going to equal 0. Number 2, f of x. So we're taking the derivative of y with respect to x, dy dx. We're going to take our exponent, multiply by the coefficient. 18 times 5, 90 equals 90. X, subtract 1 from there, so 18 minus 1 is now 17. And there's our answer. Y equals 4x, 5. Ooh, we've got 2 different terms. Remember, we're doing our rules for each term. So we have 5 times 4 is 20. X, subtract 1 from the exponent, and we have 20x to the 4th. Plus, ooh, it's all by itself. Is that the 0 thing? No. X to the 1, multiply 1 by the coefficient, and what we're left with is 1 times x. 1 minus 1 is 0. And we know that x to the 0 is just equal to 1. So 1 times 1 is 1. So we're left with 20x to the 4th plus 1 equals dy dx. Remember, you can pause this and rewind it. Listen to it multiple times. Alright, let me clean all this up. Let's do something a little bit more tricky. We've got 5/4, 3x to the 5. Oh, sorry. I skipped number 4. 4 times 4 is 16. X cubed minus 1 times 5 is 5. 1 minus 1 is 1. And then constant, that goes away. So whenever the x is all by itself, then the coefficient is all that's left over. That's the shortcut. Same thing we found out over here. Coefficient of this is understood to be 1. So what we're left over with is just 1. So here's our dy dx, or f of x. Now here we go. On to the more complicated. We have 5/4 times 3. That gives me 3.75. In math class, you're not going to be able to put in a decimal. You're going to have to keep it in fraction to keep it more precise. For us, here, that's good enough. X. Now we have to subtract 1 from here. Well, what is 1? Remember, 1 can also be a whole fraction. So 5/4 minus 4/4 gives me 1/4. So then my dy dx is going to equal that. Cool. Shall we continue? Oh, I'm gonna skip. This is kind of messy. Oh, here we go. This one, right here, number 8. Number 8 is y equals 3 over x cubed. We've got x cubed inside of a fraction, so we can write this, rewrite it, would be step number 1. Rewrite it, so it's going to be 3 times x to the negative third. Now we can do our power rule. Negative 3 times 3 is going to be negative 9x minus 1. Careful here. Adding a negative, so that's going to be a negative 4. There you go. X to the 2/3, you can bring that out. This guy right here, you probably won't come across it, but if you do, it's no big deal. It's just negative 2 times x to the 1/4 power. Remember, the square root would be 1/2, but because this is a 4 root, then it's going to be x to the 1/4, and you're going to multiply x to the, or excuse me, you're going to multiply negative 2 times 1/4. And you're going to get 1/2 x. I'm going to write it over here, 0.5x. And then we're going to subtract a full fraction. 1/4, that's going to give us a negative 3/4. Negative 3/4, there we go. 0.5x to the negative 3/4. Of course, don't forget your negative here. I think that's right anyway. If not, let me know. That's it. Next up, secret shortcut number 2.